Hey, how you doing? My name is Ryan, and today I'm protecting my most valuable LEGO investment ever by finally migrating my massive collection of Marvel minifigures into professionally made cases by ShopPopDisplays. I'll be sure to show you the ins and outs of these customizable cases as I build them, but before I get unboxing, there were a couple of really great comments on my video about how to display minifigures that I want to go over here because they bring up some really critical points that I might have missed. The first one comes from Adriel.013 who writes,
I personally like to always play with my minifigures. Not like a kid painting, throwing them on sand, biting, but always making little gags with them on my desk. I also like to change the poses, rearrange them in different ways, and make different scenes. Of course, I don't have a collection as big as yours. I have maybe 25, 30 Marvel minifigures, so I'm still able to fit everything on my desk. At the end of the day, I don't like to keep them on a shelf waiting to perish over time. I feel like people should enjoy a bit more the collection instead of buying the minifigures to hide on a box forever. Especially because in my country, Brazil, LEGO costs 3 times the original price, so we need to enjoy every bit of it.
And Adriel brings up the very important question of figuring out what kind of LEGO person you want to be. Whether you're one that loves to play with figures or pose them, do photography, videos, stop motion, or whether you like having them be more of an art piece on the wall, displayable, kind of like Funko Pops. There really is no wrong answer. People tend to say that LEGOs are made to be played with and not displayed, while others say display the figures, don't play with them, don't lessen their value. But it's very important you decide who you want to be before you invest in a case and before you decide how you want to display your figures. For my modular city behind me and all around me, I like having the figures out so I can pose them and do photography. But for the Marvel figures, I don't really touch them all that much. I pull maybe one down every 2 or 3 weeks for a video, but that's about it. So what I might do to allow myself the ability to both keep the Marvel figures in their case while also still use them for videos is get a high quality shot of each individual figure, kind of like a digital scan of my collection, such that I can still use the footage for future videos without having to open the case and pull the figure off each and every time I want to have it in a shot. The next comment comes from Donut Dragon who writes,
my issue with keeping figures enclosed is that it makes it irritating to rearrange or add new figures to a display, or pull figures down to customize them. I get the dust is going to be an issue in the open air, but that can always be cleaned off, and I keep the room dark, so there's very little to no light getting in anyway.
And organization is another very important point of displaying figures, in that you are kind of somewhat locked into one organizational method. Well, not necessarily locked, but it is very inconvenient to have to keep reorganizing and rearranging figures. Currently on my Marvel board, I have them almost arranged by film a little bit and also by release date, and it does make it a little bit tough if they make a new Age of Ultron set that I don't really have room next to the other Age of Ultron figures to put them there. So I do have a way that I think I'll organize my Marvel figures in these cases that allows me the room to expand the collection as I see fit without having to worry about rearranging every single figure should I get a new figure. I don't think I'll reveal my method just yet, but know that I do have this in mind, and organizational method is very important to think about ahead of time before you move figures into a brand new case. And speaking of those new cases, let's talk about ShopPopDisplays. The cases I'm using should keep my figures looking clean and dust-free, which would save me so much time as I already have to dust about once a week. I opted to go for the wall-mounted case as that's currently where I have the most amount of room in my LEGO studio. Now, there are plenty of options on ShopPopDisplays' site for various different sizes of collections, including both sets individually, brickheads, and minifigures, so this site in my mind works very well for collections of all sizes. Me, I had to opt for the biggest case. Now, some people can get kind of intimidated by building these cases even though they are lovers of LEGO, and I can kind of get why. Using screws and nuts are a bit different than LEGO blocks, but it is rather easy if you take your time and consider this a large, impressive LEGO project. And if you're still nervous, you can use this video as step-by-step instructions as to how to build your case from ShopPopDisplays. So let's get building. All the pieces were wrapped into a single sheet for easy shipping and unpacking, so slowly unravel the plastic wrap to have all your pieces free. The included parts were the back wall mounting plate, the back wall mounting plate with slots, the back plate with slots, the front plate, 2 side plates, the top plate, bottom plate, shelves for minifigure mounts, in this case 8, and the hardware bag. Inside the hardware bag are the screws and metal nuts needed to hold the case together, a mini screwdriver, a bunch of 1x1 round plates in clear, these will be what the figures stand on when all is said and done, and a pair of protective cloth gloves. I spent a good couple of minutes trying to find the gloves that I thought I had in my collection already, so I'm very glad that ShopPop includes their own pair for easy handling. As for the walls of the display case, each panel has a protective coating on both sides, so be sure to peel off all these sheets before assembling. Obviously, I'll clean and wipe down all the parts once it's built to remove fingerprints, but having film on each side during shipping certainly helps with keeping the pieces scuff-free. Now, looking at the instructions, the first step is to mark where you want to mount your frame and screw in the anchors. So I have to take down my DIY display frame off the wall, as this is where the new cases will live. It's a bit of a sentimental moment for me, as I love the process of designing and building this Marvel Board 5.0, but as I mentioned in my display guide video, I probably should have invested in a professionally made closed-off case a while ago to keep my figures dust-free. Back to building, I'm using a measuring stick and level to mark on my wall where I want to place these new frames, keeping in mind the mounting points are a smidge lower than the top of each case. Of course, take your time here. This is a process you don't want to mess up. Measure twice, drill once. And make sure you drill into a stud in your wall or use a drywall mounting screw if not. You certainly don't want this frame to fall over with your figures inside. Once you have your anchors screwed in the wall, grab the wall back mount, 8 screws, and 8 square brackets. It may be tempting to use the white gloves the entire time while assembling because you don't want fingerprints or smudges, but given the size of the screws and the size of the screwdriver, I personally recommend not using the gloves the entire time and just cleaning off the display case once it's built. So with the screws and cubes in hand, it's time to start assembling. Careful with the orientation of the 3 holes on each of the cubes though. You'll want the corners with the extra holes facing the top and outsides like this. For reference, here's what the top right looks like, the top left, bottom right, bottom left. Here's the top, the left, the right, and the bottom. Now, slot in the back plate with the slots and mounting holes, then the middle plates with the slots on top of that. Make sure all the cubes fit comfortably in the notches built into the back plates. You're kind of making an acrylic sandwich here. Next, grab the top plate and use the extra holes on the squares to screw it in place. You'll want the screws to be firm but not too tight. Repeat the process with the bottom plate. And I want to note here that this is the most precarious spot of the entire assembly process, as acrylic might be strong, but it's not indestructible. It can snap under the right pressure, so I recommend having your case be leaned up against something and not freestanding, as you don't want to collapse in on itself. Next, I'm grabbing a few more squares and screws to create additional mounting points for the side and front panel. Again, have all the holes face outward. Next, it's time to install the side panels. However, only install one of them, not both, because I need to prep the minifigure mounts, the shelves, before I add both sides. Now, there's always that one point in large LEGO builds that feels a bit monotonous but is also really important. For some modulars, it's laying down the floor pattern. For the Avengers Tower, it was the front glass slope. For the Ferris wheel, it was making all these carriages. And for the ShopPop display case, it's assembling these shelves. It's really important to do, but it can get a little bit monotonous. With a bunch of 1x1 round plates in hand, I'm snapping each one into place in the holes along the shelves. 24 figures in this case, so 48 plates to pop in. And once you're done, your shelf piece will look like this. Very clean, very clear, with the mounting points equally spaced. Then, take a deep breath, because you're doing it 7 more times. Or at least I am, because the case I ordered has 8 tiers. The display case you pick might be only 1 tier or 4 tiers, but either way, it can be pretty monotonous work, but with the right YouTube video on in the background and getting into the right headspace, I became faster and more efficient at assembly. And with that, all 8 shelves are studded up and ready to slot in the frame. It's pretty easily assembly from here on out. The shelves go in, fitting nicely into the slot in the back and side of the case, and once all 8 shelves are locked in place, you add the other side panel and screw that into place. Then grab the clear front of the case and it just magnetizes to it, using those squares as the magnet points. And voila, you have a bona fide minifigure display case from ShopPopDisplay, and this turned out really cool looking. It's sleek, professional, and certainly a better fit for my collection of Marvel minifigures than my DIY board. But before I move all my rare figures into this new case, I have to test it out first. I want to make sure all the shelves are sound and the case is sturdy. To do that, I'll grab some repeat figures and big figs from my back stock to make sure the studs are strong and the figures fit comfortably in the case. Now, all my figures should fit on the shelves, but big figs will be a bit tougher. The majority will slot in easy, like Hulk, Thanos, Collapsidian, but Gladiator Hulk is a smidge taller than the other big figs due to his gladiator hat. So I contacted ShopPopDisplay's customer support and customization team, and they let me know I could remove one shelf, the second from the bottom up, to make more room for these bigger figures without compromising the integrity and structural soundness of the display case. That's good to know. And with that, I have a case ready to roll for my Marvel minifigures, and this is such a sharp looking frame. ShopPopDisplays really built a sturdy, sleek, and perfect case for any large collection of minifigures. Not to mention the price is also really fair. This 24 mount case starts at $100 and goes up to $300 depending on how many tiers you use. But you can use the promo code RS10 for 10% off any order from ShopPopDisplay's sites, whether you pick this case or any other. But even with a great looking new case, a great price, and a great promo code, there's still one problem. If you do the math, I'm sure you can figure it out. But this case, 24 by 8, holds 192 figures. But that's still a good deal less than the over 500 Marvel minifigures I have in my collection. So that's exactly why I ordered 3 additional cases to make sure every Marvel minifigure had a safe and secure spot in my new display. And with all of these frames up on the wall, this is such an incredible look. The ShopPopDisplay cases are clean, professional looking, and perfect for securing large collections of figures, even as large as mine. The spacing between each mount is ideal for figures, and the space between each row allows for figures the room to breathe, but also keep them close enough together to not make the case feel empty. Well, to be fair, the cases are empty right now because I have a lot of figures to put in, and it's gonna take some time. But in the process of organizing my collection, I'm going to go over each individual Marvel figure I have in what could be the best look at one of the largest LEGO Marvel collections ever on YouTube. So if you don't want to miss that video, be sure to hit that notification bell below. And big thanks to ShopPopDisplays for creating such amazing cases that will surely give my collection of LEGO Marvel minifigures new life. And again, if you like the look of these cases, use promo code RS10 for 10% off your next order at ShopPopDisplays.com. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.